Hi. No matter what anyone says, the 2000s were the golden age for computer games. Such a vast array of genres, high-quality development, and developers weren't afraid to experiment. Games were a unique form of art, not just a commercial product as they are now. Thanks to your comments on the previous video, I was able to recall many already forgotten but extremely interesting strategies. Let me start with the Earth series. The plot of this series is built around a protracted war between factions, which ultimately led to a shift in the Earth's orbit. After Earth was completely devastated, humanity colonized other planets. The game was ahead of its time. It has several truly original mechanics, such as an interesting vehicle constructor and the ability to destroy an enemy ammunition depot, which often equals victory because units need to replenish their ammunition. Additionally, weather conditions affect the course of battle. For example, our aerial units can be destroyed by a strong hurricane. The factions are completely different. Each of them has its advantages, whether it's base construction, combat tactics, or economic development. World in Conflict, a real-time strategy game that narrates an alternative history of the Cold War where the USSR invades the territory of the USA, unleashing the Third World War. Although the game is considered a real-time strategy, the gameplay radically differs from traditional RTS. This Swedish strategy game more closely resembles an action movie where salutes and gunfire commence from the very first frames and continue until the final moments. Players receive a specific amount of reinforcement points, which they can use to purchase specific units. While the game's foundation is strategy, it incorporates more tactical elements than a typical RTS. Tzar, The Burden of the Crown, a real-time strategy game with RPG elements. Here, players take on the role of a mercenary managing a small squad of soldiers. The objective is to gather resources and build their own kingdom. There are 4 development paths available: the path of glory, faith, magic, or the path of trade, and choosing one of them determines available skills, buildings for construction, and units. Gameplay-wise, Tzar resembles Warcraft 2 or Age of Kings. The game offers 20 missions and a choice of 3 races. The main differences between the races lie in the available types of special buildings and troop types. Additionally, the game features multiplayer and a map editor. Universe at War, a vibrant sci-fi real-time strategy set in the near future. Earth comes under attack from extraterrestrials seeking to control the planet's natural resources. To defend Earth, a race of sentient machines rises, with their primary goal being to eliminate the invaders. Another ancient race, seeking revenge for betrayal, becomes the third faction in the conflict. The game's key feature is the customization of units and buildings. Weapons and troop specializations can be changed directly on the front lines, and the technology tree adapts to current needs. Among other features are unique units, including massive robots and personal heroes in service to each army, as well as the complete destructibility of all objects on the map. Knights of Honor, a historical real-time strategy game that integrates various genres, making it much more than just an RTS. The action unfolds in medieval Europe over 3 historical periods. Players can choose one of 100 playable kingdoms to conquer the map. The game features a large map of Europe divided into provinces. Each province has a governing city and several rural areas. The city has space for several buildings that can provide bonuses to rural territories or the city itself. Other buildings are necessary for hiring specific units. The main goal of the game is to become the Emperor of Europe, but players can do anything they want with no time restrictions. Metal Fatigue. This is an RTS centered around colossal combat robots, which can be assembled from various parts with different capabilities. The robot assembly is done part by part: arms, legs, torso, and pilot. The overall characteristics are determined by the combination of these parts. It's possible to construct highly unusual robots. For example, giving it 2 shields would result in a very durable armor, although it won't be able to engage in combat. Alternatively, you can equip your mech with massive cannons or turn it into a close combat fighter with axes to chop off the enemy robot's arms. Moreover, the severed or surviving parts of the enemy robot can be researched and then utilized to access components initially unavailable to our faction. All of these features make the game unique and relevant to this day. Nexus, the Jupiter Incident, a real-time tactical strategy where, instead of building bases and gathering resources, you focus on the development of space vessels and command them. The events unfold in the year 2200. Humanity has transformed under the pressure of globalization, and the planet is under the control of powerful corporations that wage war against each other for an even broader sphere of influence. For each mission, the player is allocated a small number of spacecraft, along with accompanying fighters and bombers. The ships are large and unwieldy, and the battles are quite prolonged, giving the game a cinematic quality. Majesty, the Fantasy Kingdom Sim. The action of this game takes place in a fantasy land where you assume the role of a ruler. It's a cult strategy game with an indirect control approach requiring you to manage a small kingdom. The key feature of the game is that the player cannot directly command units. To achieve their goals, players must offer rewards to heroes for exploring the map or eliminating menacing monsters on the outskirts of their realm. The decision of whether to go on a dragon hunt or spend time in the tavern is entirely up to the heroes. Thus, as you progress through the game, you can assemble an army of mighty heroes from different classes to fend off enemy hordes, expand your kingdom, or end up with a bunch of lazy heroes and an empty treasury. Populous 3. This is a god simulator and strategy game that allows you to experience the role of a deity. Your task is to oversee the population's growth and protect the tribe's people from various dangers. The game features three-dimensional models, a notable aspect for a project from 1998. The player controls a shaman who leads a tribe of primitive people. The objective is to prevent enemies from capturing settlements and ensure the peaceful population's growth. You'll need to combat not only representatives of other tribes, but also their shamans. The planet's terrain can be altered. For example, you can save your tribe by surrounding it with mountains or block your enemy's path with water. Celtic Kings: Rage of War. A good RTS that didn't receive sufficient recognition due to high competition in its release year. Players can choose between two races, Romans and Celts, each with a unique set of units. For instance, a Celtic swordsman and a Roman spearman are two entirely different units with distinct characteristics and combat abilities. Additionally, both Gauls and Romans have their special forces squads to influence the battle's outcome. The game places a significant emphasis on Romans fighting in formation. The absence of construction directs the focus entirely on leading troops and managing the economy. The game also features an editor where players can create their own maps and play on them, as well as create their narrative adventures. Knights and Merchants. This strategy game is as unique and distinctive as the previously mentioned Majesty. A crucial part of the game is building your base, similar to the Settlers, where you first need to lay the foundation and a specific unit must level the land for construction. To get this NPC to carry out the assigned task, a road must be built first. Constructing a road requires stone, which is mined at a quarry. Therefore, the building emerges not out of thin air, but based on the boards and stones that workers have gathered. This approach is also used in creating an army. The first stage involves gathering resources, which are then sent for the production of boards, and only then are these boards sent to the master, who creates weapons for our army. For such an old game, this is quite an impressive production chain, and in this regard, the developers approached realism as closely as possible. Original War. In the game's plot, the United States discovers a time machine in Alaska, fueled by a mineral located in Siberia. Russia refuses to share the resource, so the United States sends its troops 2 million years into the past to extract the mineral there. Learning about this, Russia retrieves the time machine blueprints and also sends soldiers into the past to reclaim the time machine from Alaska. Choosing a side, you enter the game, which at first glance seems like a standard strategy with troop movement, base building, and role-playing elements. However, giving the game a chance, you realize that it is unique. Firstly, your actions will impact the future. Secondly, people are the most critical and practically irreplaceable resource here. Sending reinforcements into the past is an unstable and very costly process, so new recruits are rare and in very small numbers. Therefore, each person in the game is a unique individual, and if they die, there is no one to replace them. Vehicles do not operate by themselves. They need a driver from our staff as well as refueling. Buildings also require people to function. Thus, the efficient distribution of human resources is another distinctive feature of the game. Empires: Dawn of the Modern World. This real-time strategy game spans the period from 950 to 1950 and allows players to control one of 9 civilizations in various campaigns and scenarios. The gameplay is based on the classic scheme of resource gathering, base construction, army creation, and warfare. The game offers several modes for single and multiplayer gameplay. In single-player mode, players can choose any civilization and any map for free play or scenario completion. In multiplayer mode, players can battle each other or form teams on different maps with various settings. Supreme Commander. One of the most captivating real-time strategies created in the 21st century, Supreme Commander tells the tale of a nightmarish war in the 39th century where 3 powerful civilizations clash. Each faction has its strengths and uniqueness. Each race has its own tech tree reaching the highest levels that enable the creation of superweapons or colossal titan units that reach the clouds. The game stands out by giving players the feeling of commanding a massive army with an incredibly vast number of controllable units in each mission. Moreover, the game features 2 levels of control, a strategic mode showing the entire theater of war and a tactical mode for engaging in individual battles. In both cases, actions unfold in real time on a unified map. The game's engine smoothly transforms unit icons into full-fledged models and scales the necessary piece of the terrain when it comes to the next clash. Maelstrom: The Battle for Earth begins. The game narrates a grim future for Earth, devastated by years of war and now the arena for 3 races. 3 notable features stand out in this game. Firstly, terraforming includes water interaction mechanics. For example, a trench can be dug near a river and it will fill with water. Water plays a significant role. Some units can freeze or restore energy in it, while others can float or sink. Secondly, the game has a direct control mode, temporarily turning the game into a third-person shooter. Thirdly, a unique faction in the game can transform its buildings into mobile trucks and move them to the other end of the map. Myth: The Fallen Lords. This real-time tactical strategy set in a dark fantasy setting stands out with its absence of base building and troop recruitment. The game relies heavily on tactics. Rushing into battle without a plan can result in defeat, as losing a significant number of fighters in the first battle equals failure since there's no source for new warriors. Reinforcements are rare in missions, and players must make do with the available forces, using them cautiously. Additionally, arrows and incendiary mixtures can harm one's own units, limiting the use of long-range units. In essence, this game requires meticulous planning to lead your warriors to victory. Dark Planet: Battle for Natrolis. In this RTS, a saga unfolds about 3 races battling for control over a mysterious planet. The Soren, ancient reptiles with magic; humans, stellar colonizers with a space fleet; and Drill, subterranean insects awakened by an extraterrestrial invasion. Each faction has its unique features, units, and tactics. The game features 6 types of resources, each necessary for creating units, researching technologies, and constructing various structures. Weather conditions affect the strategy, with rain slowing down unit movement and darkness obscuring visibility. Sudden Strike. This tactical RTS puts players in the role of army commanders during World War II. Players can choose one of 3 conflict sides: Germany, the USA, or the USSR, and progress through a story campaign comprising multiple missions, including battles such as the Normandy landings, the advance on Berlin, and more. Players must manage their troops, position them on the battlefield, build fortifications, and employ tactical maneuvers. The game includes various types of troops, including infantry, tanks, artillery, and more, each with its advantages and disadvantages. It also offers a multiplayer mode where players can engage in real-time battles. Warzone 2100. a free RTS set in a post-apocalyptic world featuring 3 selectable factions. The game stands out with a unit constructor allowing players to create diverse units. Various components for these units can be found during map exploration in special containers known as artifacts. These components include different types of machine guns, flamethrowers, cannons, mortars, rocket projectiles, etc. Players need to construct their units at the factory using these components. The game offers a high level of variability in crafting units, allowing players to create fast but less armored vehicles or slow but powerful ones. As players progress, they encounter numerous artifacts providing enhancements for both combat and auxiliary units, as well as additional building upgrades. Ground Control 2. This RTS is a blend of tactical strategy and a sci-fi setting set in the distant future where humanity explores new planets. Players control elite squads participating in various missions against enemies. The gameplay revolves around controlling points on the map and utilizing tactical skills. Features include large-scale battles involving both vehicles and infantry, resource management elements, and a unique approach to troop control. Players manage small but powerful squads of soldiers, vehicles, and support units, emphasizing the tactical aspect of the game. Squads act as a cohesive unit and their behavior can be adjusted for more effective mission execution. That's all. If this is the first video about forgotten strategies that you have watched, I advise you not to miss the first part. There I told about 20 more great games. The link is in the description. The Image Game channel was with you. Have a good day.